Cheers, and welcome to Fireside Philosophy. I'm Steve. I'm here with Mike.
Yo.
Steve.
See.
Christy. And John.
Where's the camera anyway?
Oh, two of them.
We have one here, one here.
I need
So if you just look in between two of them, it should be good.
Okay.
Today I'm drinking a little something extra by Lagunitas. It's a IPA, real fruity aroma, real citrus taste.
Yeah, I like the bottle. I like the label. That was
Oh
cool.
yeah,
Something.
I wish I had the bottle now.
Yeah, it was cool.
But
What is this?
that's not it.
Fat Weasel Ale. It's pretty good.
Is that what you're drinking?
Yeah. Kind of a chestnutty, fruity finish.
You're just making shit up now.
Yeah.
An aftertaste of almonds. Wait, no, that's
I at least looked something up on the internet.
Right.
Christy, are you drinking anything?
Pinot Noir, Tisdale, cheap, really good wine.
I like Pinot Noir.
Yeah, Pinot Noir too.
You're drinking kombucha, right?
Yeah, kombucha.
It has alcohol in it. It counts.
He's drinking fungus.
It's fermented.
It's a mushroom.
Fermented fungus
That's right.
juice. It's
Like,
not
what are you
disgusting.
I am drinking Belhaven Scottish Ale from Scotland because somewhere deep down, I really want to believe that the Scots are going to give the Queen the middle finger and be
Here, here.
I really want
That's
that
a
to happen.
topic for
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
frickin'
that's a good
podcast.
one.
I saw
That's
a
great-
comment. I saw a comment today on Facebook. It's the guy said Scottish independence just isn't as good without Mel Gibson.
Fair
Is
enough.
it both the 16th?
18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple days.
Yeah.
Cool.
Speaking about voting,
That is the topic of today.
Ah.
so Mike, why don't you tell us what you think about voting?
I don't believe that voting is the most effective form for change, but I do think it does make a perception or rather gather data to show what a certain set of people want to happen. So I believe that voting has been manipulated, will be manipulated, and quite possibly is currently being manipulated by certain people who want a certain outcome. Like just mentioned Scotland, I kind of think in the back of my head they're going to get die-bolded. They're going to have the machine show up, count all the votes, and the machines are going to make some votes disappear because that's the way they're programmed to do.
Sure.
Or
So-
add some extra.
Or add some extra, yeah, whatever the results may be.
Or flip a 51-49.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
Right.
So I guess beyond that, I don't genuinely believe that voting will solve the problems we have in the world today. I think it's a cultural change. I think it's something that will take time to change. We have to talk to our friends and family about, hey, we want a world without violence, and the biggest purveyor of violence in the world right now is governments, and specifically the biggest entity in the world currently is the United States government. So they're probably one of the biggest purveyors of violence in the world right now.
Well said, dude.
Thank you.
Very well said. Seriously.
I think with voting, we also got to talk about running for office as well.
Right.
Wait, what was that?
Done that.
I think we also need to talk about running for office along with voting.
Oh,
That
They
would be
they,
a part
they
of
kind
it.
of go hand in hand.
okay.
And I know you've run for offices before, right?
Twice. Well, bump.
Including this one. This
Yeah.
year.
What are you running for now?
I kind of was and wasn't because
President.
of the top two
Right.
thing with California. I didn't make it past the primary, which I thought I was gonna, but somebody in another county, and apparently 2 counties in California cannot actually communicate as to who's on the ballot. So I didn't find out that this guy was even running until after the election, because when I went to talk to my local county register of voters, they're like, oh yeah, it's just you and this other woman. I'm like, okay, there's a chance somewhere, right? And no, they neglected to mention that because they didn't know, because 2 counties can't communicate, that there's another gentleman running in another party to then get the same seat, and he won because it was Democrat and Republican. I was a libertarian dude, right? So yeah, that is the most recent venture into running for office, and there's a damn good chance I couldn't stomach to do it again. I barely did it this time.
So if you don't believe in voting,
Right.
what benefit is there for running?
I think it would be naive to say that running for office has no effect. It is again,
No effect on what?
It has no effect on the way our culture, our society looks at what government should be or hopefully should not exist at all. So, but it does have some effect. I think we would all be kind of kidding ourselves if we said that Ron Paul running for office twice had no effect on the way that the culture looks on government. I think that was definitely an effect there. So to say that voting for him, did that do something? It's obvious that they manipulated the numbers during various different primaries and all that sort of stuff. So if they manipulated the numbers, that means it scared somebody.
Yeah.
And scaring somebody's
I
a
agree.
start. You got to
Totally.
spook them a little bit. You have to be like, oh, maybe they're,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's
There's an uprising.
They would have
Yeah.
JFK'd him if he.
Yeah.
There,
If they
yeah, there's a
allowed 'em.
possibility of that too. I think Jeff Baywork was saying something about that. He was really convinced that if Ron Paul hadn't really gotten it somewhere big like that, they would have just been like, "Oh, who's that crazy guy with the gun?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I really think that government is an illusion. It's a delusion in many people's minds.
yeah, it doesn't exist, right?
Right.
Well, it exists because people believe in it.
Yes.
Um,
Like religion.
Yeah, exactly. It's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah,
Like
it's-
magic.
it's
yeah,
a
like
religion.
magic.
Sure.
These guys have this thing called authority over you.
Right.
Authority.
Well, essentially it is you're in this delusion that there's legitimate authority that can, take your rights away.
Yeah.
That can say 51%
Uh,
trumps 49%.
This
Oh,
this
there you
group
go.
of people are immune to these laws that
Right.
everyone else has to abide by.
Unfortunately, we are bound by other people's perceptions, false perceptions. Since the majority falsely believe,
Mm-hmm.
those who don't necessarily believe are still bound.
Well, there's a monopoly on force. So that force is, well, I really don't want
We're
them
bound
coming
in the
to
sense that we are subject to.
Yeah, we're subject
and
to
we
the
can't escape that.
people coming
you
to our
don't love
doors
it,
with
leave it,
guns,
buddy.
you know? Yeah, don't what?
Love it or leave it.
Can always go somewhere
no.
else,
I-
right?
No, don't go there.
Well, go ahead, because I want to tell something.
That's right. No, I'm not going anywhere.
Well,
lost
I
it.
was just listening to this awesome podcast today with Michael Humer, who is a professor at I don't know.
See you, Boulder.
Yes. And he was talking about, the love
That
or
was
leave
CU
it.
Boulder.
And it's like, okay, so because I'm supposed to participate in this violent institution with a monopoly, legal, quote unquote, air quotes, but everybody, on the initiation of force, then if I don't love it, I'm supposed to move to Antarctica.
Or
I'm
Somalia.
supposed to
Somalia.
No,
leave
Somalia.
my
Yeah.
friends and
Right,
family,
Somalia.
my,
Go to
whatever.
Somalia.
But going back to the voting thing, I personally think that it is. I applaud the efforts of a minarchist like Ron Paul, because I think Ron Paul was the gateway drug to anarchism for thousands and thousands of people.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, all over the
Millions.
world,
I would
all
say
over the
I
world.
would say millions.
Because there was a guy at Libertopia a couple of years
Yeah.
ago that said there were in Munich,
Yeah.
Germany. He was from Germany.
Well,
He said there were Ron Paul Lovolution signs, but I think
Wow.
it's a, I think it legitimizes what is essentially a criminal organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
concur.
think it's begging for scraps from
Groveling.
your
Yeah.
these psychopathic political rulers.
Please, master, can I have
Yeah.
tie-dyed chains around
Yeah.
my wrists?
And I don't think
Instead
any
of the
good
black
can
ones?
come from it. But I'm a little less hardcore on the thing of people running like a Ron Paul, like Adam Kokesh is talking about in 2020, just to run and then basically abolish the federal government.
Well,
But, I mean, I like that
Take
just
that-
because it's education.
I mean, I'd concede that maybe you could be a little bit more effective locally. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a little bit
Yeah.
more that can be done in a yes and no vote, but when you're given option A or option B, and there is no option C,
Yes.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they're there, but they're not
me,
going to go
I'm
anywhere.
not the voter, and I do look at it as legitimizing tyranny, and but at the same time, I can see where there, in some cases, you can make
Right.
make
The
progress
closer
towards
to the
towards
local.
liberty,
Right.
exactly,
Right.
at a more local level.
Sure.
I can
I get that.
totally see that it legitimizes tyranny. And it is where and what the culture is used to. So I think there's a missed opportunity when voluntarists and anarchists don't use the system to get their information out. I think it is a powerful means to educate people. I really do. You're out there and you're talking about the Ron Paul revolution, but it's even on a local level, going to local meetings and talking about the lunacy of what they do. And getting there on a local level can be the way we can make a difference in our communities. I think one of the things that anarchists say is that if we get everybody who doesn't vote, then that will show them. Well, guys, I've run for office before, and the statistics are that most people
Don't vote.
don't vote.
Yeah.
Most people
Yeah.
that can vote, like really the numbers, if you took the numbers, most people that can vote, like over 18, don't vote. It's over 60%.
And the people that vote shouldn't vote.
So
Well,
so
it's
we're
fear
already,
driven, right,
but it's
but then,
already
yeah.
there. We're already at the point where
Yeah.
people aren't voting because they can vote, but they're not. So is that doing any different? Making a difference? No. So really, what can we use the system of voting for? Educating. I invite all anarchists to come and go to a meeting, and run for office just to screw the system. Not even screw, just to educate people, to play with the system, get people, to see the lunacy of the
Like
system.
Alex Fidel and
Yes, he's
Encinitas.
great. Alex is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just but you have to do it in a way where you don't make people bad and wrong. You just kind of wake them up. You just guys, this is the lunacy of the system. How do you want to live?
And I guess to kind of throw in there a little bit, I ran for office, and at no point at all, in any way, shape, or form, did I believe I was going to win.
Yeah.
There was no way I was going to win, and I knew
I
it.
believed I was going to win. Sorry.
But I knew I wasn't going to win. I knew there was no.
Well, you're still an anarchist then too,
Yeah,
huh?
I was.
There was no way I was gonna. But I felt that, okay, so around election time, people start paying attention to politics a little bit more. So if I'm the guy that's saying, this is all bullshit, don't get involved with these people because they're crazy and they're going to lie to you, and they've been lying to you for 100 years, this is, the two-party system. If that gets people's attention just a little bit on top of everything else, again, I'll say it again, politics is not the best form of activism. It's a form of activism. It does have an effect, minorly, but not the best form.
Yeah.
So if everybody tries a little bit of everything, we might get somewhere. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if I get out there and say everything's all fucked up, Federal Reserve, they make money out of thin air, and that's bullshit, then if that gets a couple people's attention, they start looking into other stuff, they'll eventually get to the point where I'm assuming everybody here now is all at, that we're thinking like, oh yeah, government's bullshit, so
Yeah,
it shouldn't
it's-
exist.
Yeah, and you
Well-
know what? I might. Well, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say, Matt and I were talking about running for mayor of Escondido.
Ooh, see, that would be
And-
fun.
But
do it.
instead of running as like anarchists, we'd run as like hardcore statists and oppose each other.
Oh, that
Like
would
I'll be
great.
like, his 2% tax doesn't go far, doesn't go or goes too far. Well, his
Oh, that would
2%
be
tax doesn't go too
funny.
far enough.
In other words, just play the game. And
Yeah,
then,
and
what?
and say stuff like
Yeah.
say stuff like, For everyone who votes for me, I'm going to give you the money from the people who don't vote for me.
Chicken in every pot.
Everybody gets a pony.
Yeah. What was that? What was the guy's name who said that? Everybody gets a pony.
Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
yeah,
be
He
hilarious.
runs for president every time.
Yeah.
And he
Oh.
wears a
Oh,
boot on his
Vermin.
head.
Yeah,
That guy.
yeah.
Okay, I see that guy.
I think
We should get him on
that
here.
kind of
That would be
stuff
funny.
can be fun
Yeah, I do
and
too.
informative.
Yep, it can.
And then
I don't know about
Just be
like
absurd, in other
serious. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good actually. Yeah.
Well, no, it is all serious. Funny is serious. Like that, the good humor in life, gets
Sometimes
to the
it's-
core of people. It
Yeah.
really does. It's like,
Right. Sometimes it's the only thing that
Yeah.
works.
Modern equivalent
Yeah.
of the courtroom jester, right?
Yeah.
oh,
like the
you're
old-
right. Yeah. So that would be fun. I want to see you guys do
I would
that.
not vote for you, but I would definitely be behind
Well,
you.
the-
I don't think. See, I look at voting as a self-defense thing. I'm not sure I will vote anymore on.
Self-defense.
It is a
Let's hear about
self-defense.
that.
It's more on the initiatives because California has initiatives
Yeah.
where you can vote on little things.
I mean, like the
Yeah, and I don't have a
GMO
problem
thing
with
last
that,
year.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a no.
Yeah, you can. Well, and actually, where I could see it going towards is if we had a.
It's still kind of begging your master. But
It is,
Yeah,
but
there's no
in
way
the
around that.
interim of it being where we want it to be, it's a self-defense vote as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. But I could actually see moving voting towards a none of the above type of thing, where you
That's-
actually take the vote.
actually
and
have nobody
you
on the
have
ballot.
nobody on the ballot. Well, you say none of the above. We don't
Yeah.
want anybody. So
Well, that's been on the libertarian
It
platform.
is. It's been
for-
in a
is
long
it still
time.
on
We-
it,
Yes,
Mike?
it's,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
still
It's
on
been
there.
there
It's
forever.
still.
I
and I
went-
think it's something that would be a good
I'm
thing
sure
to
the
go
sociopaths
for.
I went
in
to-
power will be into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Go
It would
ahead,
be fun anyways.
Steve.
So.
What do you guys
I forgot what I was
Okay.
going to say.
Well, I mean, and the other thing is that like there, quite a number of anarchists will say this, and I totally understand where they're coming from. So I'm not saying like, oh, these people are not good or something like that. But what a lot of people don't know, and I do mean probably a majority of the people I've talked to in the Libertarian Party that are, say, recent to it, or maybe been around for maybe like 10 years at the most or something like that. They are completely unaware of the fact that Murray Rothbard was incredibly influential in the very early years of the Libertarian
Oh, I
Party.
didn't know that.
That
Was he in the kitchen with
He was
Nolan?
he was
Was
in the
he
kitchen.
everything?
No. I know he
No.
wasn't, but it was
Okay.
every Libertarian National Convention. He was the keynote speaker for like all the early years. And so when people are like, oh, people I've talked to in the Libertarian Party, they're like, oh, all those anarchists, no. I was kind of laughing inside my head because like Murray Rothbard was involved in like everything in the early Libertarian Party and was all about it. If you read For a New Liberty, a good chunk of that book is him talking about like, well, there's this new Libertarian Party we have. Maybe in a couple of years, if we work real hard, we might get some people elected. And he wrote this in 78 or early 80s or something like that. So
Yeah,
unfortunately,
one of his guilty habits is politics.
yeah. So, I mean, when people are like, you can't possibly be an anarchist if you have any involvement in politics, I usually hold my tongue, but I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, well, okay, then are you trying to say Murray Rothbard is not an anarchist?
It's a
Because that's the
game.
history of it,
It's a choice playing the game. It really
so-
is.
Yeah, and
You either play inside the game or you play outside the game. That's just
Well,
my view of it.
I'd rather
work outside.
I'd
Yeah.
rather
Mike,
work
it's
outside
it's
the
easier
game.
outside.
Who
much
chooses
more
outside?
comfortable, Yeah.
But you were the one.
Inside's really thorny and uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's right. I'm not- I
yeah,
don't-
it's not
one way or
fun.
the other
I
is
wouldn't
not
recommend
better.
it for
It's
anybody,
not.
to be honest.
But Mikey here, you were the one, I don't know, a month or so ago that I didn't realize this, that on the original thing with the Libertarian Party when it was started was that the last thing on their list of
Yeah.
things to accomplish was to win.
Yeah,
The
David-
first thing was
Yeah, it
education,
really
right?
is. And it still is, really.
David
Nolan was, yeah.
David Nolan's like first
Yeah.
article that he published in the was it in Arizona? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was in Arizona in like whatever Arizona local paper of like why we need a Libertarian Party. There was 10 reasons listed, and on the 10th one was literally we might get somebody elected.
Yeah.
That was a phrase.
I know
We
he
might
got
get
really
somebody
pissed
elected.
at one
So all the
point,
other 9
yeah.
is like education, outreach, informing people different ways. If you can split that up into 9 different things of how to inform people about the philosophy, that was the purpose of starting it. So yeah, there's history there that's missing when it comes to origin on both sides of the argument of whether or not political activism effective or not, you know.
Yeah, I remember him getting really upset. He wasn't involved too much in the National Party at the time that this happened, but he was really upset that they had changed the demeanor of the party to getting elected from just a, you know.
Well, that was the whole 2006
educational.
thing, wasn't it? That like
Possible.
that.
Is that Bob Barr?
No, that was
Possible.
before.
Oh
That was
God.
actually. Sadly, it
I
was-
couldn't believe that.
Sadly, it was.
I wasn't
before
even an
Bob Barr.
anarchist at the time, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, me too. You took the neocon from the Republicans, who was one of the most vociferous votes against Clinton and the cigars and all this shit with Monica Lewinsky, and he was screwing around on his wife at the same time. Fucking hypocrite piece of shit.
Well, okay.
And I wrote them. I
Yeah.
said, "What the fuck
Well,
are
that
you doing?"
that's the thing. Like, I mean, this is way before I was involved in.
Well, I wasn't
anything having
involved, but I knew that much about that.
This was way
pile
before I was
of
involved in
crap.
anything. But where the drop off happened, and there's a good talk about David Nolan, where it more by David Nolan before he died, where pretty much it's an hour of him saying why he doesn't like the Libertarian Party anymore. It's really kind of sad to see, like, this is the thing that he kind of started, and he doesn't even like it. And it's a really good little hour talk where he gets into the nitty-gritty details about it, but he talks about the big drop-off in 2006. That's when they changed the platform. You had a bunch of neocons that snuck in there, more or less.
And they
is what
dropped
it-
They dropped.
Yeah.
the
And so you
non-aggression
can see the
principle.
numbers drop in 2006 and then kind of recover a little bit. But then with Bob Barr, everybody was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so they didn't drop as bad as it did in
That's
2006, which is really interesting. But it still did this, like, crater, you know?
So have they, because I'm on their mailing list,
Right.
and I've written them and said, where the hell's the non-aggression principle in
It's
this?
still there. I think
this
you
is
have
all
to
political.
sign it. You have to sign
Well,
it.
Mary,
you have to sign the
You do
non-aggression.
have
You
to
still
sign it to
it.
join the party, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you still have to sign it.
Oh, well, how come so many neocons are coming that have no idea? They've
They don't
never
know what
even
it
heard
is.
of the
They may
concept.
sign something and they don't know what it is, but you have to sign it to be a part
Because
of it.
they heard Glenn Beck say he was a libertarian. That's
Yeah.
why.
Oh
that's
my
what you're-
God.
That's what that is that you wonder where, like, you got all these like
I think-
neocon guys showing up
That's-
saying, like, you know.
That's the real problem with the Libertarian Party. It's now the right wing party.
You know, guys,
In a
Yeah.
lot of places, it could get there really quick. There are still, you know, some good state parties and good county parties where it's not just a whole bunch of neocons
Yeah,
pretending
and
that
it-
they're not Republicans.
and I think
There's a
that's
few of them, not a lot,
I think that's a
unfortunately.
good problem to have, guys, that this is gone mainstream. We were waiting for this for years.
Yeah,
You
but
know, I remember
does
when I first
mainstream
got into-
mean
no,
losing your soul?
No, it doesn't. It just means it becomes a conversation that most people are talking about.
I don't
you know,
know about
libertarian
that.
becomes a it becomes a word.
Nobody has a fucking clue.
I think more and more people are
It's
understanding
Romney
what
and fucking
what
Obama.
small L libertarianism is. I really do. I think more and more people are
Really?
like, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not
The more
hanging around
people
those
I talk
people.
to, the more people who know what a libertarian is.
I saw Larkin Rose posted this. I don't remember when, but he took a survey of the friends he had on Facebook and asked them when they became anarchists. And then somebody else took all that information and formed it into a plot. And it's basically exponential.
What do you mean? Say that in a different way.
You mean since
As
Exponential
a
in
certain
what way?
period of time?
Yeah, since the 1960s when the
Right.
Libertarian Party started,
Oh,
the number
okay.
of
Right,
anarchists
so-
has
right.
grown exponentially
Right. Okay.
every year.
Oh, like I said, Ron
Yeah.
Paul's the gateway.
Yeah,
In fact, actually,
I
that's
do.
a
I agree
a
with that.
rip-off
Hang out
from
on
Larkin Rose.
If you go hang out on
He
the
said-
Daily Paul, you can see
Yeah.
if you've been there over time. Like I was going there a while ago when there was really no anarchists, and you look at it now, and there's a healthy
You know-
population of anarchists on the Daily Paul.
Isn't that interesting?
I was actually thinking about the day when we were talking about the topic. I was thinking about Ron Paul, and I was thinking that, like, I've heard that a lot. If you go on, like, Daily Paul and other, like, Ron Paul websites, like, most of the people commenting, or at least a good chunk of them, are all anarchists. And there's like, well, hey, by the way, you're here. This is how I got from here to where I'm at now.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I've got a flyer at home that was meant to be handed out. Remember when Ron Paul came to
yeah.
Oh, I went there.
I went
Yeah.
there too.
I actually went to
I had
too.
I had
For
these
the hell of
flyers,
it.
and actually
That was
Alex
great.
Yeah, it was
Alex
fun.
and Kiska
Good vibe.
made
It was
them up,
Awesome.
and we were handing them out at the Ron Paul rally, and it's basically explaining Ron Paul's philosophy and why that leads to statelessness.
Oh,
It was
cool.
really well done. I still have a bunch of them at my
You-
house.
Why don't you bring it next week? So I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really would.
I've got a couple of them too. Well, maybe in a couple decades things will get really good and we'll be able to auction them off. You know, like this is how it started, was this pamphlet for some people. Well,
I think Ron Paul will be a legend.
don't
I
worry,
really
Keith
do.
Alex,
I
we'll
think-
give you some of that money. At
think
least I
this-
will.
I
But
think
you
this era-
guys
think
did
we
make
should-
it.
Were you here
We
last
should-
week?
Yes.
What's
I
the
was,
leftist
yeah,
say
yeah,
about
yeah.
Ron Paul?
It's the right thing to do, I guess.
Who's the leftist?
Right there. What's your name again? I'm sorry. Ian.
I
Ian.
think
To the gentleman off camera.
I'm so glad you're here. Seriously.
Thank you.
No, I really mean that because
No,
I think it'll
seriously, I
make for
agree
some.
too. I think this whole all of the conversations we have are much more rich when we have another perspective or a
Totally.
different perspective from
Totally.
it all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I well,
Yeah.
This is how I got.
We're on that
So-
note, right? So it's authority, right? Yeah. Yeah. Voting doesn't do anything to check the notion that authority is fallacious.
Yeah.
right. If you could vote for the local head of the Bloods or the Crips in your neighborhood,
Exactly.
Yeah.
would you do that?
If they actually gave me value in my life, I might.
You mean
Vikings
like not
versus
kill
Crusaders,
Yeah,
A or
well,
B.
if
Pick
they
one.
if they provided protection,
you? Okay.
if they provided
Which is-
something that I might pay
what-
for, sure, I might do that.
Well,
yeah.
like
The
I
state
might.
is inherently violent.
But I'm just saying, but yeah,
It's a
if
criminal
they gave me
organization
a
just like the
value,
Bloods or
right?
Crips.
yeah,
But if
except
they
Or the
gave me
mob.
value
except
for
they're
my
nothing.
money-
At least they offer good shit, probably chicks,
That's right.
and drugs and stuff.
Check A
You think
for
the
Borgia,
you think
check
the
B for
government
Medici.
doesn't offer chicks and drugs
yeah,
and stuff?
they
Yeah,
offer
so
little
really,
boys and
yeah.
just
You
the
just have to be
lowest common
in the
denominator.
connection to get the chicks and drugs, you know.
Well, actually,
Or the guys
Who's
and drugs.
who's the number one supplier of
Yeah, it is government. We know that.
from
Drugs.
Afghanistan?
oh yeah, that's why the heroin imports have spiked.
Yeah.
Because
Since-
you got U.S. Marines guarding opium fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
kinda,
it's on YouTube, folks.
Uh-huh.
Geraldo
Look that up.
Rivera,
We're
Fox News.
not full of
Well,
it,
no air
yeah.
quotes.
that happened.
It's for
That's
real.
the thing.
It's like, why are they guarding the opium fields, the poppy fields?
I
Poppy.
wonder. They're not.
But there's no
destroying them.
coincidence there. See, there's no connection at all. Do not connect the dots.
Do not connect two dots that are glaringly obvious. You
Never.
Know, like,
Do not follow the money. Do not.
You've never heard the word Tim Osman?
Who's Tim Osman?
Osama bin Laden?
Is that his name?
Yeah,
Pseudonym.
Tim Osman is the pseudonym that the CIA gave him when they were working
Oh.
with each other.
Really? No.
back
I
in the
didn't know
80s.
that. I did not.
I just loved how after 9/11, the pictures and videos of him, he kept getting younger. Never mind that he'd been on dialysis and the CIA had said he died of kidney failure in what
2001.
But we were talking about
In
voting.
December.
That was-
Yeah,
and- and
voting.
so-
I was thinking of the
So
same
so
thing.
we're
Oh.
talking about voting, and I'm sitting there
Right.
thinking that like, so if 51% of the population said, okay, robot
We
sex is
want
bad.
robots!
Right, 51 said robot sex is bad, but there's 49% of the population says robot sex is okay.
fleshies.
Yeah, and maybe fleshies could have sex
They
with
have to
robots.
force
Would that
you.
be
They're gonna
okay?
force
And would we
you.
honor that if that were such the
They're gonna
vote?
force
The
you to
vote,
robot
right?
sex.
You know.
No. Well,
But-
because I'd be one of the fleshies.
So
I like
so,
humans.
so next
I'm
week
not
we're
into
talking about
it.
robot
I think it's
sex.
time to.
You know what?
force
You know
people
what?
to robots.
Unfortunately, we're out of time.
See, I'm into the human connection personally, so
We'll have to talk about robot sex another time.
Good night.
that'll be the next.
Have a good
Peace.
weekend.
Peace.
Take it easy.